Good evening, Oriole Nation. We are live. It's March 18th. You don't have to stop talking. It's all okay. Keep chattering. It's fine. We're going in just a second. Hey, how we doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, very good. Baseball today?
Yes. So we had pitchers, catchers last week, and then we officially start team reps.
Yeah. Were you outside or were you?
Inside.
Okay, good.
Sure.
Good.
That's probably why it's gonna snow this weekend. It's baseball.
Yeah. Baseball.
When's your first game?
April 2nd.
Oh, okay, so you got a little time, so.
And we have 2 weeks. Yeah. They went too far. It's too much.
Hello, how are you?
We're all ready? You good, Steve?
Let's see.
Did you catch your bearings up here?
Yep, I'm ready.
Thank you. All right, we're back in open session. So our first item in open session is board mission statement. Would you like to share?
Sure. The mission statement for the board is we will develop policy that is representative of our community, set goals, and lead our district by collaborating, followed by our beliefs, stand up and own it. So individually, how can we be there to call what we need to call within our frame, but also to support each other as we are one, as we lean in. And then we're constantly learning and have the courage to grow as we move forward together as a district.
All right, thank you. Our next item is our consent agenda, and we have 3 things on the consent agenda today. One is approval for our February 26th regular board meeting minutes, which are in our packet, along with approval of February 29th special board meeting minutes, also in our packet. And then finally, our treasurer's report, which was shared out in our packet as well. So I'll look for, first off, if there's any questions on those items.
Well, it's consent agenda, so they should go right to the motion.
Okay.
So,
Then we'll go right to motion. So look for a motion.
So,
second,
All right, and then roll call.
Matthew,
yes.
Hawk, yes, Geckerman,
Yes.
Lopsky, absent, and Yeager.
Yes.
All right. Our next item is board members share a moment of pride. So I don't know if anyone would like to go first.
Well, I was locked down a little bit the last few weeks, so I didn't get to attend many events, but a few weeks ago, we had a chance to tour the construction site and see how the building is going, and it looks great. And Dave, I don't know, there's Dave and his crew, and Spider, the project manager, they're doing a great job. Everything looks great. It's ahead of schedule, and it's gonna be pretty nice this fall when that gets done.
Awesome. Gary?
I just wanted to extend congratulations to the students that participated at the district solo and ensemble. It was great to see all the many students from Bessie Allen and Horseman that took part in that competition. So congratulations.
Thanks.
Great. I'll echo the comments on the tour. It's exciting to see. I'd also like to mention the forensics. I saw a posting about that and a big number of students involved, which is really nice to see. And they did very well, including Mr. Abe. So, and then also, I want to mention, I take a casual interest in Facebook, but I like to see what the district's posting, and then I'm in I guess not in, but there's a couple of groups about Fond du Lac, people in Fond du Lac to do stuff, and every once in a while, there'll be a question in there about, we're new to the area, what school district should we enroll our kids in? And invariably, at least half, and sometimes more of the comments mention North Fond du Lac. Go to North Fond du Lac, go to Bessie Allen, stuff like that, all the schools. And so that's always gives me a little smile and a pride when I see that. Because there was a time when people outside of the village and the district would not recommend people to bring their kids here. So good to see.
Awesome. All right, thanks for sharing. The only additional item, this is the hard part about going last, right, is the FLC team. So YMCA night, saw the pictures online. Any of you go to FLC YMCA night? No, next time, right? Next time. So it looked like a fun event. Looked like turnout was good. So just thanks for whoever put all that organization together to make that happen that night. And then, like Steve had mentioned, I had the forensics team on here, but 11, I think it was, that are going to state this year, which I think is a lot more than I remember the previous year. So very cool. All right. Our next one is Horseman High School Student Council rep. So you, Abe, you're on deck.
Okay, so the first thing I have is our National Honor Society. The National Honor Society has welcomed a plethora of new students. In fact, it will break their record of most members in 1 year, which was previously held this year. And NHS members are looking to complete all of their requirements and towards the banquet, which will be held the day after prom. So it's a quick turnaround. And moving on to student council, the new officers for next year have been elected. I apologize in advance if I botch any names because I am very bad with names. So the class of 2027, their president is Abby Wagner, their vice president is Jaden Becker, their treasurer is Layla Halfman, and their secretary is Yarilas Geno Santos. The class of 2026, their president is Garrett Garcia, their vice president is Kimberly Diaz, their treasurer is Lady Ovando, and their secretary is Adler Meyer. In the class of 2025, the president is Luis Garcia, vice president Morgan Fowler, treasurer Brianna Dobke, and secretary Nish Patel. And I'm sure you're wondering, but next year's student council president and vice president will be announced later. I know you guys are all eager to kick me out the door, so, but that won't be announced yet, hopefully soon. My next thing, some of you guys brought it up already, is forensics. A handful of our members of the team advanced to state. Unfortunately, not everyone did. That's the sad part. Usually states where you get more divided on whether you advance or not. The competitors needed 2 scores of 21s or higher to advance the state. So you need 2 out of 3 rounds to get 21 or more points. And then state will be held at the UW-Madison and will be in April. Then my last thing is spring sports are finally starting. That might not feel like it if you look outside or hop outside, but track has already had a meet. They already competed. Softball, their first game scheduled on Thursday. Baseball just started their first team practice tonight, and I believe golf starts on the 23rd. And that's all I have for you guys today.
All right, any questions for Abe? We don't want to kick you out, Abe. Put that on record. Well, thanks for the updates every time. Appreciate it. All right, we will move on to FLC Student Council. Dave, you're welcome to leave too if you have something else.
I'm gonna hang on
Stay
to
here.
watch.
Just stay where
There you go.
There you go. Right there, go ahead.
You want me to? Okay. You want to introduce yourself first, ladies?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Kinsley Grafton, and I'm the president of Student Council. I am Natalie Shield, and I'm the vice president of Student Council. And I'm Kylie Lotto, and I'm the secretary of Student Council.
And then there's Walker Behringer, he's doing stuff for Scouts at college right now. So. All right, this year probably tops our numbers ever. We have about 51, I believe, members in student council. So it's great. Very enthusiastic group. They want to do good.
That's just 4th and 5th grade students.
Okay.
We're the advisors. We're just there to watch. They run everything else.
Alright. So what does Student Council do? A Student Council is a group of student leaders who work with adult advisors to collaborate with others to impact their school or community, which impacts their city or town, which impacts our state, which impacts our country, which changes the world. Expectations. Must follow the Oriole way. Must attend all student council meetings. You are allowed 3 excuses. If you are sick, that is an excuse. Please let teachers, leaders know. Can't receive a major referral at school. Teachers, leaders, be notified if you receive a major.
And what do we say about expectations? Pretty much do it.
Follow the Oriole way. What do meetings look like? Roll call, announcements, agenda items ran by our student council officers, and time to work. Students lead the meetings, students' ideas.
Do you want to talk about like, how you break up into groups?
Yeah, so like we usually like break up into groups. So like president has a group, and then vice president has a group, and then secretary has a group, and then treasurer has a group. And it's mostly like, and one of them will work on things for our next fundraiser. The other group will work like on a newsletter things, posters. And then we have a kindness box, which somebody runs that, and we put a whole bunch of notes in it. And sometimes we vote like for different ideas for fundraisers, because sometimes. Yep. And then sometimes we make side chats. Oh. Okay, so here are some of our fundraisers that we've done so far. So we have the Kina Kinogram. We raised $1,419, and we donated to FLC Adopt a Family and St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So another fundraiser was the Smell Pencils. We sold 1,000 pencils. We raised $400, and it was donated to the local homeless shelters. All right, and our next fundraiser will be Heavenly Hats. Students will pay $1 to wear a hat to school for a day. The money raised will happen. This event will happen in May, and it will be donated to Heavenly Hats.
Awesome. Great job.
Any questions at all?
All right, I have a question for you. Do you think you'll continue to do student council type things as you move to middle school and high school? I think you'd be great.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of being on student council?
Just like helping in the community, helping your school, having fun things to do. It's kind of fun, like thinking about all the things that you can do for this school and what you can do in the future. Yeah, you help the community with like fundraisers and stuff like that, and it's fun.
I've got a really tough question. Who wants to take it?
I like that.
What's your favorite kind of stencil?
Ooh, this is hard. They're all good, but my favorite has to be the sherbet or pineapple
Sherbet?
syrup.
Nice.
I like all of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Do you have a favorite?
I like the watermelon one.
Watermelon.
Ooh, yeah, the watermelon smells like orange.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks for coming in. You guys did a great job.
Yeah, great job, everyone. Thanks. Well, you're always welcome to stay and listen to the rest of the meeting, or if you have other things to do, you're welcome to leave as well. Don't want you to feel like you have to stay.
I have been talking.
Yeah, yeah. Pull the chair up, let's go.
I bring her home?
Yeah.
Early bedtime. That's
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for
it's testing
school.
tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I don't want to.
Yeah, thank you all for
I'd rather
coming.
not. I guess I'm here up there.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. Our next item is clerk's report. So Steve, if you'd be able to.
Sure. Then we have donations this month. Backpack Buddies from Wayne and Jane Shingen, who are regular donators to that program, $50. The Treffert Way Playground, Fond du Lac Area Foundation, $700, and Ignatian Healthcare Foundation, $10,000. Post prom, that's the season for that coming up here. So Tim and Molly Hawk, $200. Van Dyne Lions Club, $100. Capelli Brothers and Diedrich, $100, and Commonwealth Construction, $100. So we thank them all for those donations.
Yeah, very nice. Thanks, Steve. Thank you, everyone that was read off there as well. All right, our next item is citizens' comments. And just as a reminder, if there is a citizen's comment, name, address needs to be shared. We ask the limit to 3 minutes. And just a reminder, the board members won't respond. This is really a listening session for it. So I'll pause to see if there's any citizens. All right, we can move on. All right, our next superintendent's report.
So, yes, thank you, John, appreciate it. And points of pride or wins right away, we're gonna do some recognition of class 2024. Zach, are you the only individual here to?
Besides Abraham, yes.
Okay, there we go. Zach, do you wanna talk about why you're here tonight?
So I am the class of 2024 valedictorian. I mean, that's really it.
So, first of all, congratulations. We wanna honor you and just a round of applause for you. We know there's a lot of work behind that. It takes a lot of, that's 4 years, if not 13 years of making it to this point. And I'm just kind of curious, can you tell us a little bit about that journey and some of that stuff for yourself and what you walked through as well?
I mean, for me, it was just more of kind of like a dedication thing. It was difficult, but it's I just paid attention to class and turned in all my assignments and really just gave a good amount of effort.
What's one or two things that you're gonna really take forward with you, from your learning in NFDL post high school or whatever that might be, and you can share with us if you want to do that as well.
So kind of like that dedication thing, and that, if you put in a good amount of time, not necessarily requirements, the results will show. So I guess when it comes to academics, studying wise, so if you put in 2 hours studying, you're gonna get better than a C grade. You might go up to a B or an A or something like that.
And future plans, do you feel comfortable sharing? You can, if
Yeah,
not?
I plan on pursuing sports medicine at Marion.
Okay, wonderful. That's great. Any other questions for Zach?
I have a question
Yeah.
for Zach. It's pretty lofty honor that you've reached here, Zach, and you did that despite being a Viking fan. Is that still?
That is correct.
Who will be their quarterback, right?
I would have hoped that you would have dropped that by now, but that's okay.
It's okay. Well, we appreciate you being here, and it's an honor, and that's great. Enjoy these last few weeks here now. It's going to go really fast to the end, and just really appreciate what you've done and giving back and continue to model that for us, not only here in the district now, but years to come as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Welcome. Congratulations. And Travis, I don't think was able to make it tonight. Kulago was the salutatorian, so just recognizing that in the class. A couple weeks ago, I also had the privilege of going to Laconia High School, and there was an honor for top 10 in Flyway conference, and I just wanted to read the names off who were part of that. I know we've kind of gone through that a little bit, but just so you all know, again, those players who have done the academic and learning levels at high levels within our school district. So Ethan Avitz, Brady Christian, Ella Getch, Bailey Harlan, Travis Kalogo, Layla Lohr, Mason Metezovich, Abraham Maurer, Abe, welcome, and Bruce Nichols and Zachary Siegslag. Sorry. But we want to just recognize those individuals here tonight and thank them for all their contributions and everything they've gone back. And again, we get to recognize them a few weeks ago as well. So congratulations, everybody. And then our last recognition is the Technical Excellence Award. Sawyer Went. Again, this is for the tech ed side of things as well, and putting that time into the CTE world and giving a lot back and achieving high levels in that area as well. So just want to again extend that congratulations and honor to Sawyer and publicly. And Sawyer Went, if you're out there, congratulations. So one more round of applause for Sawyer. All right, so that brings us to a close with that. You guys are all free to leave if you so choose, but appreciate you and thank you so much.
Congratulations. Thank you.
We are going to move on to engagement and communications, and we're going to start out with the USI team, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So Alex, if you want to come forward, you can have a seat right up here in front and share a little bit about yourself and where we're going. So
perfect. So good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Beaudry. I'm with USI. This is my second stint working with North Flyway School District. Some of you may remember a handful of years ago, I was with the working group and worked with the district for a handful of years. So I'm excited to be back. Thank you for the opportunity. Earlier today, we spoke with with Matt and Maria and Bonnie and David, and really just kind of did a deep dive into what's going on here from a health insurance claims experience. And I pointed out to the administrative team that there's two very unique things right now that's going on that we'd like to address strategically moving forward. The first is the amount of behavioral health claims that the district has found. And second is pharmacy. So your specifically specialty utilization is almost half of your large claims. So moving forward, I think there's a couple different strategies that we'd like to pursue. One is we'd like to engage immediately with a pharmacy benefit manager RFP to see if there's not an opportunity to get some of that cost savings under control immediately. And then second, from a behavioral health standpoint, can we take advantage of some of the programs that we're already paying for, whether it's telemedicine, our EAP, our employee assistance program, and some different alternatives there. So moving forward, there'll be some different strategic solutions that we'll bring forward too, whether it's a physician engagement strategy, some of those different types of things that we'll bring forward. But I think immediately in the short term is addressing the pharmacy issue and see if we can't get a handle on our behavioral health claims. Those seem to be the two outliers. So with that, I'll pause to see if there's any questions or Rand, if you have anything to add.
Thank you. I'm Rayanne Beaudry. I'm the employee benefit practice leader here in Wisconsin for USI. As Alex said, thank you so much for having us work with your district. We're very excited to bring some new opportunities in strategic planning. All of the things that Alex spoke about is really about saying, how can we repurpose dollars that are already being spent so that employees feel like their lives are improved and things are elevated here and making sure that the district always has the very best level of benefits that they can afford. So we're taking a look at all of those things and saying, we know we can do better. We know the provider community can do better in certain areas. And we need to ask our partners, whether it be those providers or other payers into the system, if they won't do better on our behalf so that we can continue to provide your employees, colleagues, and retirees the best that we can.
I guess I have a question about the pharmacy thing, and I think in the past we've talked about this. It's historically, it's always been high compared to other districts.
Yes.
Yet our users, or I forget the name that you use, but the teachers and employees tend to change, and younger ones come in and older ones retire, but yet we still utilize pharmacy at such a high level. And do you have any thoughts on why that is such a thing?
One of the major advantages of moving to a self-funded arrangement like you've had is now we can get creative with some of these solution opportunities. And I think whether that's the way we source medications, whether it's we exclude certain medications in terms for a generic or other biosimilars, I think we can really start to dig in where when we were fully insured in the past, or even your first few years of self-funding, we haven't taken advantage of some of those opportunities. So I think our goals are just to really do a deep market dive. Let's make sure your employees and their families are being taken care of from can they get the care they need, but are there other alternatives that we can do to lower our costs? So I think, to your point, it always has been a trend here at North Fond du Lac, but now let's roll our sleeves up and find out what's going on so that we can really start to tackle this from a financial perspective.
And may I add, just to the problem that you spoke of, sir, I think the bigger challenge here is that there's a new twist in healthcare. If you start to look at the way claims were adjudicated in the past, people didn't go to a doctor's office, get a high-end injectable, and then probably didn't see another physician for a year. It went to surgery first. It was more of those, the higher the hospital claims were, the lower the pharmacy claims were. We're back to we're keeping people in action, if you will, but not necessarily healthier. So it's really become a pharmaceutical society. And so people are taking more and more things. It's a pain relief, and it's become a step therapy almost to not have surgery, especially for some of those high-end musculoskeletal things. So it isn't always really dependent on the age of the person anymore. I mean, people are starting to have knee replacements in their late 30s. They've been playing tennis and they're really active. They're having the second one by the time we were having our first one. If you look a few years back, 20 years back, and they're in their 50s. So it's healthcare has really become very, very different. People want a snap, quick decision, some pain relief, and they want to move on. So pharmacy is creeping up. It's about 30% of healthcare costs these days. And they're guessing that by 2030, it'll be as much as 50% if things keep going the way they are.
And you're already close to that 50% mark here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so along that line then, are other similar groups like school districts increasing too and coming closer to that level that we are at?
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
Other questions?
Do you guys have a rough timeline? I'm sure these guys explained to you that some financial issues we have to make some decisions on. Just wondering what the timeline might look like when you might have some recommendations on what kind of savings we might find over the next few years.
So this is something we're going to start on immediately. And we're going to come back probably in the next few weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, with actual financial proposals. Do note that your current contract with your current pharmacy benefit manager, there's a 90-day termination language. So we're probably would be looking at August or September at the very earliest to make a switch. But do know that it may leak into January 1st of 2025. But so the long-term goal is obviously to reduce our renewal liabilities for January 1. But if we can bump that timeline up and get ahead of it earlier, we're certainly going to be prepared to do that.
And with that, you'll have some kind of ideas on what percent increases we might be looking at or decreases we'll be looking at.
Yep.
Matt and his team will start to see reports from us really rather frequently. We believe that by the time you're looking at your renewal, there shouldn't be any surprises. We should be able to project it by no later than August for a January 1 and be within 1%. So we're pretty streamlined in that. And now that we have 2 years of data to fall back on, we'll also be able to ask the current PBM. Obviously, when we see strategies coming forward from pharmacy benefit managers, we'll ask them to take immediate action with some of those things that they should also be able to copy. Maybe not with the same results, but hopefully they're going to work a little bit harder to retain your business and not just want to give it up either.
And Rick, they already came to us today too and started laying out some of those possibilities and proposals. We have to still talk about it, but significant ways to reduce, what we currently have and definitely look at exactly what you're talking about.
I think from a 30,000 foot view too, we're going to be asking, I think, your employees and their families to really get engaged with their healthcare, whether it's establishing a primary care relationship whether it's, taking a good hard look at the prescription drugs they're on, which providers are they seeing? Are they going to the highest quality, lowest cost providers? I think the future of healthcare that's where all of this is headed, using technology to help make those decisions. But even if you follow the news and follow the Johnson & Johnson lawsuit, Johnson & Johnson was sued for not being a fiduciary of their plan and not navigating care for its staff. Now, whether that lawsuit is successful, it'll take years as that works its way through the court, but I do think, looking forward, we have to provide resources to your staff and their families to make sure they're getting the best care and the best outcomes, and then doing that in a financially responsible way. So I think that's our overall mission here.
Any other questions? And as Alex pointed out, they'll be back.
Yes.
Front load some of that information that we're talking about right now, so y'all can see that as well.
I would just ask you keep us a little busy as we start together.
You bet.
Yeah, and as we get financial proposals, obviously those will be presented as well so that we can, collectively make a decision.
Alex, Rand, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank
Yeah. Safe travels.
Yes. I'm glad we didn't have to follow the student council.
All right, we're gonna float into, the second part under engagement communications is vote in spring election. It's coming up, Tuesday, April 2nd. People will be on break. However, I don't believe we have anybody running against our two individuals who are up for this time around. So, but please still vote. It's more of a reminder than anything else. No discussion on that at all at this point in time. The third bullet point under engagement communications is 2024-2025 graduation date. We again are ending earlier next year. So we are trying to get through the season, and as of this year, we are on a Thursday night coming up here in just a few weeks. We are proposing and recommending that same date for that purpose of in the middle of that, right on that weekend's edge, but it gives enough time for people to come in, get planned, do those kind of things. So that's our recommendation. Again, at this point, we feel there's been a lot of positive feedback from families and parents on this year going forward in terms of just changing that night from that Sunday to that Thursday. So we're looking to use that same date again, the Thursday prior to Memorial Day weekend, so we can make sure that happens. So I know that's coming up for more discussion and consideration in new business, but I just want to know if there's any other questions for that or comments at this point in time within that topic. Okay. Moving on, we're gonna move into the financial operations. I'm gonna have Trevor come forward at this point, even though referendum is that first update. I just want to make sure. Yeah, we're gonna come back to that too. We'll get to Lauren's work in just a second, but if you want to come forward and we'll get your slide deck up. Tiffany and Meg.
It's really Tiffany.
Okay, Meg, I thought you were doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'll turn it over. I will say at our board, you're up now. We never do have to work around here. Well, thanks for having us tonight. So you guys got a copy of the proposed contract and then just like a one pager on what some of those changes were that we proposed in the contract. So the slideshow is just a little bit about what we've experienced success in the last 5 years. So here we are.
And 2 seconds as it loads. All right. Run the show.
Oh,
Okay.
So why have a charter school? A charter school just offers a different way of educating. It allows students to learn in a unique way. You can see how we've grown throughout the years. So that first picture in the top, our 6 staff that started off here at FLC when we were down at the end of the hallway, our grand opening ceremony. Some of those students in that front row are currently at Exploration High School. And then that photo outside Treffert Way is our staff and students from last year. So what makes us innovative, individualized, all of our students have a Treffert Approach Plan, which is an individualized learning plan that helps them to meet their goals and see their potential. We are project-based, so students participate in a teacher-led project time during the school day, and then they also have passion projects where they can explore those interests that they have and connect those and tie those into standards. We just really celebrate student voice and choice throughout the day. They get a lot of choice in how they learn things, their learning style, what they are learning. SEL is that social emotional learning piece. So all of our students do whole class social emotional learning. And then we also have small pull-out groups to meet students where they're at with what they need. Collaboration within our school, with others in the district, with others in the community. This year we've piloted a 4-day school week for our students, and we've gotten positive feedback from our parents. We did pursue that, and the board approved that we will be continuing that schedule next year as well. So Fridays are a virtual learning day for our students, so they're still getting that instruction provided by a teacher, but they're working from home, and it allows our staff collaboration time to really best meet the needs of all of our students. We also implemented a cooking class this year for all students K-8. It is one of their favorite subjects. When you ask what their favorite thing was each day, cooking definitely hits the top of the list. We start our day with a soft start, so students can come anytime from 8:15 to 8:45 and really pick what they need to start their day. So some students are in the gym, some students are swinging, some students are playing board games, some students are just chilling out and listening to music. It's a way for them. Some students don't come until school starts at 8:45 because they just don't want that time, and that's okay too, but really letting them pick what they need to be successful and start their day with. And then advisories, morning advisories, end of the day advisories, kind of those whole class meetings that all of our teachers follow that schedule. So. And then, I also want to add in, our teaching staff also gets to use their strengths throughout the day. So we have people teaching art because that's their passion. I teach music classes this year, and that's, as many of you know, one of my passions. So getting to share that with others in our school has been a lot of fun too.
Can I just ask?
Yeah.
So on the virtual learning days, I really like the idea of giving the staff time to get organized and prepared. How has that been accepted by the parents? Are there any issues with the parents?
Yeah. No, we have not had it. So I resurveyed all of our families before I proposed it again this year. And I would say I maybe had 4 parents of our 45 families that gave feedback that was like, this is really hard for us. But overall, we allow the students can complete the work Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some do it Monday before they come back to school. So it's not like it has to be live. But the teachers are obviously at school on Friday, so we're still available. If someone emails, they're like, hey, Mr. Williams, I just am not getting this reading assignment you gave me. He can pop on live, do a Google Meet with them. He will open up a Google Meet just over the lunch hour where if the kids want to come on and just joke around or talk with each other, that they can do that. We're also working to explore community partners if there's places where the kids could meet up on a Friday to so this year, Trevor Studios had an option some families took advantage of where the students go there on Fridays, but then they can also explore other strength areas while they're there too. So I think definitely continuing to explore how that works, but we've gotten some feedback on how we can provide more tailored work to their needs. So I definitely am taking that feedback with the teachers for moving.
A lot of positive feedback too, though, just that 4 days allows them to really engage in school, kind of reset into your weekend. Time to make appointments if you have them, some flexibility with the transportation because some of our families drive in. And so, yes, there's been some areas where folks aren't thrilled to not have Fridays, but they're still willing to come despite that to our school. So,
And on the educator side, do they feel, obviously they probably have more time, feel more prepared, but hearing a lot of that or any other benefits?
I think it's a huge success. My teachers, they do not take off on Fridays. They're probably there longer hours on Fridays than they are on a normal school day. Just having that time. And I mean, at Trevor too, we eat lunch with the kids, we go to recess with the kids. So we don't have that time during the school day. So having those Fridays is just essential for that collaboration for the teachers and working and solving problems and planning for upcoming projects. So
greatly improved our vision and mission coming to the full potential that we can because of that collaboration.
Thanks.
Yeah. So some of our successes over the last 5 years, we've navigated several buildings and we've landed in our home now, which we have been making our own. We have successfully fundraised for a playground, so keep your eyes open in the next month or so here. Student gallery events. We do 2 gallery events every year, a fall gallery and a spring gallery that showcase our student work and our student projects. Mentorships, just mentors from all over. We've had Dr. Trefford in the past, Temple Grandin. We have just college professors that meet with our students, people who, we have a podcaster coming in, working with Trevor Studios as well and partnering with them. We're currently doing a video modeling collaboration with Trevor Studios. Jigsaw Grant came a few years ago and did some artwork with our students.
Trevor Clark came from
Yes,
Australia.
thank you. I was like, who am I missing on my list here? So lots of collaborations that way. We held our first 8th and 9th grade graduation last year. Continued interest in our school, requiring a lottery every year that we've been in existence as a school. And then just continuing to increase students and staff and how we share that out in the community. And what can you expect from us in the next 5 years? We are just continuing to promote that mission and vision that we are a school for all students, continuing to grow, continuing to learn more about projects, having our project cycle. We're really diving into that piece right now and making sure it aligns with all of the standards, and also working to increase that authentic learning within our projects, continuing to explore different learning styles of our students, innovative teaching techniques, continuing to build relationships with our community partners and out in the community, as well as the school district, continuing to focus on the Trefford approach and that strengths-based learning. And then you said in development, there is a Trefford approach certification that is currently being developed. So pursuing the learning.
Yeah, everything that we've learned and with the input from the teachers and the clinicians. So that's really hopeful for when we bring on new teachers in the future to have a better way to do that systematically and support Tiffany and team in onboarding new educators.
So
one of the things we talked about, I think when we did the high school charter, was more of a collaboration between the other schools and you guys, and things the other schools could learn from the experimental stuff you guys are doing. Has that been happening? Is that continuing?
I think we're in baby steps towards that, and from what I've noticed, I mean, Tiffany's at every one of our meetings for principals, and we're like talking about some of these different things. And when we get these things in, there's like, oh, and these are competencies. And so we're starting to ask those questions. I mean, even the four-day school week, I mean, that was talked up a lot when we were putting the schedule together, the ideas for this upcoming year. It's still a topic, like how might we do that in a way where we can keep that flexibility and some of those things. So we still consider our charters like R&Ds for our schools. And so it's an awesome experience where they can go and play and like test drive some of the stuff, and then we can give us back, and then vice versa. We can learn from each other within it. So there's a lot of conversation going back and forth, but there's some really good things that they've brought to us already with how we might look at things differently too. So.
any questions for us on any of this or any of the changes that were recommended in the contract?
And just so everybody knows, when you have charters, every 5 years, you have to renew, all right? This is a state statute. You have to do that to keep the charter going. That's what you're all doing. You're looking at this as a school board, as a school within our district. That's what our task is as the board, to like look through that and approve whether or not that charter continues within North Fond du Lac.
I didn't have any issues with these changes. I don't know if you're okay with everything.
Yes, I'm good. I got to look through everything too before, and working with everyone as well, so.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, quick referendum update. Thank you very much. Dave, I might lean in a little bit. I mean, if you've driven by, I mean, you all got to see inside some of the stuff, but the work on the outside, the brick is going out quite fast in the commons, and even
what you saw on the inside was completely changed already. I mean, the finished product you guys saw is different, or the same, but Skeeter just got them moving at a tremendous pace. The week of spring break, they're going to finish the cut-ins at the high school, and a lot of that whole area is pretty much done except for flooring, which they're starting the week of spring break as well.
Oh wow!
I just walked into the commons today and noticed that the painting is almost completely done on the servery area, so that will be finishing up real quick along with the commons. The front of the commons is all bricked up and blocked up actually. So we're just waiting on some glass and that'll be finishing up. They're gonna knock out that front sidewalk sooner than later. They're doing some site work already, site concrete at Bessie Allen, which they're planning on being done. They were hoping this week, but the weather's gonna settle back a little bit. But they're just really moving along. So about half of the ELC roof is done, which wasn't even scheduled for until summer, but the roofer had an opportunity to get in there, so it's moving quite fast.
You have any questions? Well, great to see it. So that was super helpful. So thank you for helping with that. And I can't imagine how much change that you're just talking through some of that stuff. I think of the server and I'm like, how is their paint going up? When we were there was what, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah. We gave them 3 classrooms in Bessie Allen in the center pod to get that area tidied up as best as they can before the end of the school year. And I was in there the day, and they will probably have that area 99% done within the next 3 weeks.
You had, when we were there, for the summer strength and conditioning program, you had talked about that section being possibly available. I don't know.
Yep, yeah, we're planning on that being open for, it might not be the first week in June, but we're open by the second week. We just have to, there's a lot of things that lead into getting this occupancy, and one is turning down the fire system and doing that changeover. Well, we can't do it during school, so that'll be that first week, and as soon as that's done, as far as everything else inside, that'll be done. It's just the fire system that's gonna hold us up for occupancy.
Okay. And I guess for both of you, you had mentioned too, once it's done in summer, are we doing a welcome back? When will we hear a little bit more about that?
We're working with Bray and CD Smith right now to talk about plannings of grand opening. We're definitely gonna toy around in earlier August, before everything, just kind of opens up, but then also probably, as we have open houses coming into play too, we're gonna be ready for that as well, so that, more to come in terms of what that looks like, but we're trying to get as, a good crew of people in there. We're talking about those at our Wednesday meetings too, just to see how we can do that as well. But Dave, you know anything more other than?
No, not, planning a date for that's just kind of really tough. Although we're that far ahead, our projected finish date is still gonna be August 15th, because the other 2 pods in Bessie Allen and some other areas, we really can't start until that June 1st date. So, it's gonna give them a lot more guys to work on that part of the project, but we still have to wait until that timeline. So there's probably gonna be a stall time for probably 2 or 3 weeks. There's not gonna be much going on, just because we're gonna be at that point already.
Good problem to have.
Oh, actually,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dave, I got just a quick question, and I don't know if it comes out of the construction part, but I noticed in the front, the parking lot side of the existing educational wing or classroom wing, there's some staining coming down from the roof. Is that going to be cleaned up?
So I'm trying to work some numbers with a company to get that done, and it's actually the same company that's doing the washing of the brick here. So yeah, I want to get that cleaned up as well.
Good. Does that just happen over time? What is that from?
That's just, so what happens is your rubber goes up over on top of your parapet, and it's just, as time goes and, when caulk starts to fail, moisture gets into the parapet seams, and it's the rubber just leaking down through, and that's the main part of the staining.
Okay. Any other questions on referendum?
All right. Moving on, we're bouncing back to learning and academics. Lauren, we're talking about, proposal on non-student day in May for FLC, and this really comes at the movement of literacy within the state, but also here in North Fond du Lac in terms of, as we continue to look at our achievement and strengthening that across all levels. This is the start of that process too. So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren and maybe Adam too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, feel free to jump in at any point. I just tried to give you a very high level. There is a lot that I would say kind of goes into this space. So I tried to give you bare minimum just to give you some background on the proposal. So currently at FLC, we have been using a tool called, or a resource, Curriculum Lucy Calkins, to teach reading, writing, and then more recently, we adopted phonics a couple years into that earlier implementation. So Lucy Calkins is more of a balanced literacy approach, so we are doing a lot of like the workshop model. So that consists of teachers giving a mini lesson and then a lot of independent work time and practice. And one of the things that we found also within this balanced literacy approach is that students are spending time in text that they're at and not necessarily text that's at grade level. So that's one of the shifts that's being made statewide, is just the push to continue to put kids in grade level content and teach grade level standards. So one of the things that Lucy was really big on too was like developing this love of reading and putting kids in comfy, cozy little spots, and they got to pick their books. And while all of that is great, it's really lacking some of that direct and explicit instruction and some of the things that they really need. So we started last year actually looking at some different tools to adopt and started doing some learning around what's called the reading rope. And that really just talks about that word recognition balanced with that comprehension, and that's what makes a skilled reader. So this year we met with 4 different curriculum representatives. That was Adam, myself, and then our reading specialist, Margaret Logeman. And we took those 4 choices, narrowed it down to 2, and then had a larger team, which was made up of teachers and specialists. We decided to move forward with CKLA, which is Core Knowledge Language Arts Amplify, as our tool for the 24-25 school year. So all of that was driven by our need to do something different, but also the state's mandate, which was passed this last July, that really requires schools and districts to teach reading a certain way. So I did link on here, and I can share this document with you. There's a lot that goes into Act 20. There's a few bullet points here just to touch on. So again, all Wisconsin schools are required to provide science-based early literacy instruction in universal and intervention settings. We as administrators will be taking part in a 6-day training this July to start getting some of the background and knowledge on this new approach to teaching reading. And then there's also going to be a statewide screener, which the date on that has kind of been pushed back a few different times, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to dabble with that a little bit this coming school year also. So that will be statewide mandatory. And then from that screener, if students fall beneath the 25th percentile, they will be required to have a personal reading plan. So those are some of the pieces, within Act 20. Overall, we're really excited and we're eager. We know that our academics, especially in ELA, need significant improvement. So there's a lot of great things. Like if you hear about Act 20, there's, some pieces that I think we as building leaders might be frustrated by just because there's not a ton of clarity. But overall, what the bill is telling us to do is going to be really great for kids, and I think really good for reading instruction. So the future, we are, like I said, looking at adopting CKLA for our tool for next school year. We have a 1-hour pilot training next Tuesday that all of our staff will participate in. That is a training that in order for teachers to pilot, so in order for them to experiment a little bit with this tool in their classrooms, Amplify wanted us to have that background so that we were able to successfully implement a unit. We're hopeful we will receive materials by summer so that we can get those into the hands of teachers so they can start planning and organizing. And then we're also trying to coordinate some different site visits to some different school districts who have already been doing Amplify over the course of the last year or 2. So that leads to my proposal, which I don't make lightly because I know that a lot of our families obviously rely on that calendar, they plan. We are childcare for a lot of families, so I know that this isn't, something that we can just do flippantly, but I do feel that it's really important for our teachers to have this opportunity to almost like pre-plan and get ahead of some of this work that's coming our way. One of the things I did not mention, but similar to what the administrators are doing this summer, our teachers will be required to put in over 40 hours of required training in order to be in compliance with this new mandate. So there's that large chunk of training, and then there's the training that we have to do in order to have a successful implementation with this new curricular tool. So we've been working with Amplify and are hoping to nail down a Friday in May where we can have them come in and give our staff like all of that training so that come fall, we're ready to roll.
And I'll just throw out like minutes, because of the length of the day that FLC has and what they do from start to finish, their total minutes are way in excess. I mean, in terms of, we have extra days in terms of, minutes, so +5, I think you have.
55 hours, yeah,
Right.
and that's including the snow days that we took off, so we've got several days to play with.
So just so you know, minutes wise, we are really good in that location, at least at the elementary level. And elementary has less minutes than middle school and high school by state law that they have to achieve, so.
And I'll just mention too, I know Tiffany's been part of those discussions as well, and, on that day, that Friday, they already have off, but they'd be part of that initial training too, and things will look a little bit different in their building because they have multi-grade level classrooms, but still part of that adoption, using the same curricular tool, and also they fall underneath that state mandate of how that instruction should look, so they'd be part of this on that day and future planning days as well.
Collaboration over time.
Has the state specifically named the curriculum that they will allow the science-based stuff, and then obviously would this be one of them? See, the Amplify or?
Yes, they have, yeah, you did, go ahead, yep.
So they've put out a couple different lists, so Amplify has been, or CKLA, I should say, all the tools for Amplify, but CKLA has been on that list, so, that really wasn't a factor in our thinking. We were looking at from what's best for kids and what program's best for, again, our environment, so, but ended up being, that was one that the state would approve, and, we're in a good spot there with that.
The hard part is we don't have that exact date yet, and I know we're like very eager to get that and get that locked in so that in the event that this is approved, we can go to families and let them know like ASAP.
Again, I endorse this too in terms of like getting our staff ready, so that they're set with at least a little bit of jump start towards this new tool. I mean, there's just a lot coming at people, and the more prepared, even early in that May, that they feel a little bit more comfort level when we get to August versus just throwing it at, anyone. That's not what we want to do either. We want to make sure that they got some base and some foundation, at least in that area. And some of them have been part of looking at the tools and looking at they've been part of that process so they can, get a little better sense. But I think this in general is going to greatly help all of FLC staff and Trefford and, all the players that are part of this.
Can I just add one more thing too? I think if you would ask some of our teachers, when we look at our scores, ELA and math, we've seen some pretty nice improvement in math over the last couple of years. And if you would ask them, what do you think led to like some of that change? I think they would say like the coaching and the professional development that they had with that tool in order to teach it to fidelity and feel really comfortable with using it. So, Adam and I think are definitely on the same page with making sure no matter what we do, we want to make sure that our teachers are set up for success, so.
And this is the same, as Bridges was, this is the next move into that literacy area, so we start seeing more achievement gains for our kids.
Very good.
All right, thank you. Closing, just future board items. We'll be appointing board committee members next time, as we've talked already before. And then we're gonna have some more information on class of 2024 scholarship winners. And that really concludes my section of the report. So if anybody has any other questions, not, that's all you do, Sean.
All right, we are gonna move on to new business. We have 5 items today. Our first one is to consider approval of employee retirements or resignations. And we have 3 in total. 2 are resignation retirements for Terry Gravy. and also Joel Drews, both for resignation retirement. And then we have a resignation of Amanda Weed to consider. So I'll open to see if there are any further questions.
No, I don't.
Okay, then I will look for a motion to approve those resignations that were mentioned.
So moved.
Second.
And then roll.
Let's see here, there it is. Okay, Matthew,
Yes.
Yeager,
Yes.
Geckerman,
Yes.
Gillespie absent, and Hawk, yes. Motion carried.
Motion carried, all right. Our next item is to consider the approval of the 2024-2025 graduation ceremony date. It was the Thursday before Memorial Day with our earlier schedule again next year. So
May 22nd.
May 22nd is the official date, so May 22nd. Any questions or more discussion on that date?
Yeah, once again, I would like to talk about, I'm not gonna rehash all the stuff over the years that I've mentioned. Now, I guess what I'm wondering with the Thursday this year, is it kind of hamstrung by the calendar because of Memorial Day weekend? And we're finishing earlier because of the construction project, right, or earlier, or is that a trend that we're?
I think it's a trend that we want to continue to do in the school district, to start a little earlier and end a little earlier. This has really been perceived by our staff as well as like outside our staff to say thank you for like getting done a little bit earlier within that year. So I see it being a trend as like something that we're going to try to continue to do in terms of rather than going into a week or 2 weeks into June, moving forward.
Okay. Yeah, and were there other options for, that would still fit with the calendar and with Memorial Day weekend?
The issue comes, the only other option would be after the school year to look at like a potential weekend or that next week. And I think the tradition that at least our seniors and others had been part of is like ending earlier before the end of the school year. So we were trying to provide a way that our seniors could get done so that we close the books on that and then move to the rest of the closure for the rest of the school. So your 9th, 10th, 11th graders. So that was really the intention as well.
Okay, and you don't think having it on the Sunday of graduate or Memorial Day weekend would be okay? I mean, it's a huge thing in the life of a student and a family for
Right.
1 year.
Yeah, we just got a lot of feedback from students saying like this was a good thing. They liked the fact that it was before that, so they could plan their weekend, and if they needed to leave or go somewhere else, that was a big turning point in terms of like, okay, we like that, having it prior to that weekend so that we're not waiting until that date, or we afraid, it was kind of like we talked about last year too a little bit. And even when with the idea of like, family coming in from out of town and things like that, as long as they knew the date ahead of time, they had a better chance of getting there for that Thursday, the start of that weekend, and then they could roll into it as well.
Okay. One of the thoughts I had was, why do we need to approve it before we've experienced it this year? And then maybe survey again or find out what the input are. I didn't have any feedback except one negative from one person who actually, it was positive to me. She congratulated me for my efforts when we did discuss changing it to Thursday. But other than that, I guess I haven't heard anything one way or the other. And I thought maybe by experiencing it this year, then kind of see how it all tallies up. But again, I understand if we're going to start curtailing the schedule,
Right.
You're always going to have Memorial Day.
Right.
There might not be much that we can do about it.
And we want to get this date out for families too, so they can start planning for next year, so they're ready to go. And I mean, if we wait till after the experience this year, it's going to be, I think a little too much or too late for those individuals to start even getting ready for that next year, even though we're well on a year away, but as the planning goes along with this, just so we can get people ready for that as well.
Okay. All right. That's all that I have then.
Anyone else? Any other discussion? All right, then we'll look for a motion to approve the May 22nd, 2025 date for the graduation ceremony.
So moved.
I'll second. And then roll call?
Matthew,
Yes.
Geckerman,
Yes.
Lopsky, absent. I'm gonna abstain, and then Jaeger.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Our third item is consider approval of Treffert Way charter contract that was described earlier today. So I know we just talked about it, but if there's any other discussion or questions since that discussion, now's the time to ask.
I'm good.
You good? All right. Then we'll look for a motion to approve the Treffert Way charter contract.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and then roll call?
Matthew,
Yes.
Hawk, yes. Jaeger,
Yes.
Geckerman,
Yep, yes.
and then Lopsky, absent.
All right. Our fourth item is consider approval of educator contracts. Is there anything else you want to share on that one?
Other than, all contracts are ready to go, and we hope to get those out to staff by the end of this week. Approved.
Any questions or any additional discussion? All right. Then we'll look for a motion to approve educator contracts.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right, then roll.
Okay, Hawk, yes. Jaeger,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Geckerman,
Yes.
Lopsky.
All right, motion carries. And then our last item is consider approval of non-student day for FLC, which was in the month of May of this year, of this school calendar year. So I know we just talked about it, but any additional questions or discussion on that item?
So this will give them the authority to do it, and also they can choose the day we're not
Correct.
specifying.
Just the month of May is what was described.
Okay.
Okay, then I'll look for a motion to approve the non-student day at FLC for the month of May.
So moved.
Second.
And then roll call?
Jaeger,
Yes.
Matthew,
Yes.
Geckerman,
Yes.
Lopsky, and Hawk, yes.
All right, motion carried. All right, and we can skip over going back to any closed session. No additional closed session is necessary today. So then, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, Oriole Nation.